Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Viv, look, what do you make of this Greek crisis and how is it going to affect emerging markets, especially South Africa?
Look, the conditions in the world are such that whenever there's a bit of crisis in the world, all emerging markets are lumped together. We are among them, and therefore what happens is people go for what's called a safe haven. So look to places like Japan, Germany, the US, and they pump their money into those places thinking that that's a safe haven, a place where you can park your money while things are uncertain. And unfortunately, that's going to mean that we probably have a weaker currency and maybe even a weaker stock market because of that.
Viv, now look, take us through the proposals that are making this debt situation to be even more difficult, and what do you think the new deal should actually comprise of?
Well, see, the problem with the Greek-German, Eurozone union is the fact that in South Africa there are certain provinces like Gauteng that make a lot of money and certain provinces that don't make as much money and therefore are net receivers of money. But we are happy to do that because we believe that we're all South African and we're willing to transfer money from one part to the other. In the Eurozone, we have different parts of the Eurozone like Germany, which make a lot of money, and Greece, which doesn't. Unfortunately, they don't feel the same way about each other, and therefore the Germans are willing to transfer money across. And when you don't have that transfer of money across and you have a single monetary unit or single currency, basically, what happens is the countries that are doing very well are okay, but the countries that are doing badly don't get either a weaker currency to help them out or money transfers to make up for that difference. And therefore they suffer in this period of uncertainty. And unless we can have some kind of transfer of money over from the Germans over to the Greeks can't survive in the Eurozone. What the Greeks are asking for now is effectively a transfer of money. They borrowed money, now they're not going to pay it back. That's effectively transferring the money over, because if I take your money and don't pay it back, I've taken your money, haven't I? That's what they're trying to do at the moment, have debt forgiveness, which is effectively going to be a transfer of money over. The Germans aren't willing to do that at the moment.
Viv, look, Greek Finance Minister Yanis Varoufakis resigned after the no-vote result of the referendum. Do you think this is making the situation worse since an urgent cabinet meeting has been held after that?
I don't think he was resigning. I think the rumor is that apparently he says resign, but apparently he was pushed out. I think the theory is that the party, the No Party, Syriza, basically made a lot of promises, including opening the banks tomorrow. And the person that's making all these promises was effectively the finance minister. And he's not going to be around tomorrow when the banks don't open, which is likely to happen. And they can always say, he made the promises, we didn't quite, follow up on that.
Scapegoat.
Yeah, scapegoat, effectively, that's it, that's the truth. And look, they aren't likely to open the banks this week because they don't have the money to do that. In fact, even with their current 60 euros a day transfer limit, they will likely run out of money this week without more money coming in from the ECB.
My goodness, Viv, with that in mind, then what is the proposed solution to this problem? I mean, should their debt be written off or bailout conditions be reviewed?
Look, the debt has to be written off. There's no way they can pay it off. There's no way it can be done. But that being said, they're not the problem. The problem is Spain and Portugal, because Spain and Portugal also have debts, and Spain and Portugal can pay it off. But if you give one debtor, one person that borrowed money, a free ride, the other people that borrowed money are going to come to you and say, okay, that's a once-off scenario. They're going to say, hey, he got a free ride, what about us? And there's elections coming up in Spain. There's a party called Podimo out there. There's going to be a huge player going forward because they effectively are the sister in Spain, and they are going to probably ask for a similar kind of deal. They'll say, if Greece gets away with this, we want a similar deal. But Greece is a much, much smaller country than Spain. It's a fraction the size of Spain. And whereas it may not be a big problem to do that with Greece's debt, Spain's debt is a whole different scenario. So one scenario we can have is where they effectively punish Greece, kick them out to make sure that the Spanish know that they can't get away with this kind of stuff.
Very interesting indeed. Now, Viv, since it's difficult to tell if Greece will be able to pay its lenders the 1.6 billion euro, should they then continue to stay in the single currency zone? You mentioned this earlier on. Yeah,
look, I mean, there's no actual way to actually kick them out. What they could do is if they don't have the money to pay for, like I said, the banks or whatever, they may be issuing what's called IOUs. And it's when you have these IOUs coming out, it's like I give you an IOU saying I owe you money. If a government gives out an IOU that's not the official currency, that IOU becomes the currency. A rand is an IOU effectively from the South African government. A dollar is from the US government. If the Greek government starts issuing out these IOUs because they don't have any euros left over, that is the first step towards actually exiting the Eurozone. And that, I think, is the next thing we have to watch out for.
All right. And what should South Africa and other developing countries learn from this, Viv?
Look, I don't think we can have the same scenario as that. We have to keep a track of our debts. I mean, that's the reason we've been downgraded by places like S&P and Fitch, etc. So if we keep a track of our debts, we are very far away from where the Greeks were. But it's obviously something that we have to be aware of. But I don't think we are anywhere near as much trouble as the Greeks are at the moment. The Greeks basically went and spent way too much money, and their government is far too large for their economy.
Viv, thank you so much for your time and explaining the Greek debt crisis to us. That's Mr. Viv Govender, a senior analyst at Lehumo Capital, unpacking the Greek debt crisis.